Oh gosh. Hi, y'all. I need another few minutes, but I'm here. I've got my scheduled match against xiaat at 12. I have so much I want to talk about, but I got back from LA, Megacity, like, at, I don't know what time it was, like 4:30 a.m. Um, Something like that. It was really late. So I slept at like 6 a.m., woke up at 9 a.m. to go return the car, and now we're back home. So I'm on 3 hours of sleep, but like we like got this Starbucks, one of those like Starbucks like pre-made frappuccinos, and I like don't drink coffee ever. I've had some of those before, but my head's feeling a little weird. Anyways, um, I'm here. I'm planning to like just do a little talk about LA Mega City for 20 minutes, and then I'll talk about my two decks that I played, talk about the experience and what happened, and then I will go and play the Async League. I'm not sure what corp I'm going to play yet. It might be this. I'm pretty sure I'm corping. That's actually something I should find out. Yeah. Dave says, "Congrats on the Mega City win." Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very happy about it. It was like a tough hill to climb. I had to play. I played 6 games on the second day, and yeah, had to play a lot of games to get there because I had to come up from lower brackets. Let me pull up the. What side am I even playing? Oh, this doesn't have the link. This one does. There it is. Pairings. I am corping. Okay, yeah. So I'm supposed to like find some corp to play. That's at noon, so it's in 20 minutes. But like, let's chat. For people who are around, people who are live. Please, if you got questions about anything, I will respond. This is like a great way to interact. If you don't want to like type something up on a decklist write up or something like that, it's. I know that it's like not the best because I don't stream regularly, but that's what we got. Will this video be posted here on YouTube afterwards? Yeah. This is a live stream, and all my live streams will remain on YouTube, so you can find it live. Yo, I'm gonna hang around for the debrief part. Tell me when to leave before you decide on the corp list. Cool. Yeah. No worries. Yeah, you're welcome to hang around. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna be right back. Just because like I was trying to do some like I will begin in a certain number of minutes, but I couldn't figure out that because my stream is not known for production quality. So I'll be back in like 1 minute, and then I'll kind of talk about the weekend. Okay, I'm back. Let's chat. I was gonna try to eat before doing this stream, but man, the scheduling's so weird. My sleep schedule has been really good lately. Just like waking up at around 8:30, 9 a.m. naturally and just feeling good. Hopefully that one night didn't destroy it, but to recap as to what happened this weekend, because I didn't do any shorts or anything like that, I played in the LA Megacity. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area right now, so Fa and I drove down to LA. We rented it was like not necessarily the Chevrolet Bolt, but that was the car that was given to us. We knew it was going to be an electric vehicle, and I like enjoy driving electric vehicles. I think they feel really nice, but I kind of thought that the whole charging experience would be like kind of not that bad, because you could like stop along the way, stop for like 20 minutes here, maybe you stop twice, maybe 3 times, like 20 minutes at a time, and it's like a nice like drive, because if you drive directly from SF to LA, it's like about 6 hours, or like 6.5, yeah, somewhere between 6 and 6.5 hours, and you'd probably want to stop at least once, maybe twice. Anyways, so I was thinking it'd be fine, but there was just like, because neither of us had done this before, like on the way there was so many problems with like discovering that certain, like the Tesla chargers don't work on the car that we had. So we had to like go to certain areas, and certain ones didn't work. We had to figure out what worked and what didn't. And also like some of the chargers were just super slow. And they're like clearly designed for like long-term overnight charging, and like you barely get anything even then. So that was like really weird. I didn't realize that such slow chargers existed. On the way back, it was like slightly better because we kind of knew what we were doing, but the tournament ended at like, because I played all the way to like double overtime, right? So like we went to like grand final second game. So what, like I think the tournament finished at like 5:30, maybe later. So we left and like had to go charge the car, and then on our second stop, like I kind of like write about it here in my Sable write-up. So yeah, the charging situation was kind of a nightmare. But it was a very educational bad experience. And as I say here, I'm definitely not going to get a fully electric vehicle anytime soon. Yeah, so there's that. There's the vehicle part of it. And that's why I'm like feeling weird. Although I'm have decent energy right now. I think it's just because of the coffee, which I never drink coffee. But yeah, we got home at like 4:30. I was like super awake still, so I like got my deck list posted, and like I had some other stuff I had to take care of, and for my law course, and I slept at 6, woke up at 9, returned the car, and now I'm back. So there's the car talk. We've gotten that out of the way. I'm curious your thoughts on why you believe the Sable is better into Auko than Bankar Hosh. Yeah, we could definitely talk about that. Yeah, okay, so I guess like just jumping into the tournament. Tournament was in LA. It was a 2-day event. We had 22 people, which is a funny number because on the same weekend there was an event in Toronto that had 22 people, and the Denver Megacity had 22 people. So, and we were like, Fa and I were kind of just like talking on the car, and like, here's some events that have been going on, and looking at results that we haven't been following, and 22 people seems like the theme. We played 7 rounds of single-sided Swiss on the first day, and then we did a cut to a top 8 on the second day, which ended up meaning that like when you do 7 rounds and a cut to top 8 with 22 people, I was expecting that 13 points is safe, which was exactly the case. That 13 points was exactly safe to make top 8, and then we had a couple drops here and there, So then it turns out that everybody at 12 actually made it in as well. So that was our top cut, was everybody 12 and up with 3 drops for various reasons. Yeah, and then we did a double elimination top 8 in day 2. It was like such a nice event. The venue was massive. There was a cat that at the game store that it just lives in the game store. And there's like specific holes in doors that the cat is like going through, and like the cat knows their way around and is very comfortable with people. So that was cool. Allergy to cats is common though, so I imagine that's a bit of a problem. I'm allergic to cats, but like only if I actually go and touch them. So that was cool. The venue was really nice. Steven ran a really, really nice event. Yeah, and the experience was really good. I met a lot of great people for a repeat time, and met many new people as well. Shout outs to KZ, who finished 7th. KZ was, I guess first of all, KZ was like part of like a group of, I think there was 3 who like communicated in Mandarin a lot, which was cool for me to see, because like KZ was like played the game in Shanghai, I think a while ago, and then like at the start of FFG, and like played the game in Shanghai, and then like moved over to North America, started playing here as well. And like the fact that they like communicate in Mandarin is cool to me, because like I learned to play, like I was taught the Chinese words for the game when I was in China in December, like just this last December. So that was like really interesting. And yeah, like KZ did a phenomenal job. He was, you'll see in his write-ups here that it was his first Netrunner tournament ever. And he played really well. It's like a highly analytical play, like made a lot of like really well-informed decisions, and it definitely did not seem like it was his first tournament. We played against each other on the first game of both days. So round 1 of Swiss and also round 1 of the cut, we played each other. He was very, very good and great to meet. In addition to lots of people that I'm not going to have the time to kind of like talk through individually. But yeah, there's lots of great people that I met over the weekend, which was like absolutely amazing. And I mean, like, I guess like while I'm at it, like, we'll leave it there for now, and then we'll get to it. Okay, so talking about my decks, like I played Auko and Sable. We got a question about the Sable Auko matchup, so I guess I'll address that at the end after I kind of talk about each of the decks. Catching up on chat. Chris, hey, how's it going? Congrats regarding Auko. Do you have any new opinions on the deck after tournament? Any changes you would make? And it was an adorable yet very aloof cat. Yeah, the cat was like, I didn't notice this on the Saturday because we didn't see the cat on Saturday, but on Sunday I was watching the cat, and there's specific holes cut out in like offices that are locked, that the cat kind of roams through, and like that's where their food is and stuff like that. So that was really cool. You can even adopt cats, if I recall correctly. Yeah, there was a room where there was a bunch of kittens and you could like adopt them. So that was great. Alvin, Kanto Gang, yeah. There was, when they were speaking in Mandarin, like I was trying to catch some of it sometimes. Like I'm not trying to listen, because like I don't think they knew that I could understand. But anyways, the one cool part was like when I played against KZ and he said he was gonna like advance his agendas. He said push, which is what you call it in Cantonese when I learned to play in Cantonese when I was in China. So like that was like a big throwback, which was really cool to see. Okay, I'll start with the Auko. So yeah, I played this Auko. It was, you can call it a combination of the 2 Aukos that were played in at UK Nets. So that's Chris Dyer and Wowerlock who posted them. So Chris Dyer's had a very nice write-up. I think Chris Dyer's write-ups are always very, very educational. He talks through the testing process and like why decisions are made, and like it helps you figure out if you agree with it or not, and stuff like that. Yeah, very great. And the skunkworks are very, very good. So yeah, and then the scatter fields are also really good. So it's mostly from here, and then you get this is not the deck. Where's the other Wowerlock deck? If I go here, 70 published decks. Here we go. So then, like, this is the deck that Tiebreakers brought, which is essentially just like Tiebreakers have always like played a bunch of different Aukos, and they are playing the humanoid resources, either 1 or 2, and then they're like Augustus is on the Spin Doctor's a little overrated. We don't need to play 3 copies, which I think I agree with. Because I found that like when I was playing a Yuko, a lot of times you draw the spin, and it's like you actually don't need the ability. You're actually just installing it and drawing 2 cards, and then like maybe it's relevant later. It's tough to say because like the runner is under a little bit of pressure to go after it, because you can like start throwing things in the bin very freely. So it's not like as clear as the rhetoric kind of makes it out to be. But like the thing with this deck is we're like, okay, we want a 3rd Regenesis, which I think is totally correct. How do we get a 3rd Regenesis in the deck without compromising the hybrid releases? And the way you do that is you cut the stings and you play a 2nd 3/2 and a 3rd Regenesis. Why Sericulture versus Yagiuta? Why am I playing Yagiuta? You can like, I kind of like responded to a comment here. So I'm not going to repeat that in the interest of time. Yeah, and then basically when you cut the 3 stings for another 2-pointer and a Regenesis, that gains you a slot. And when I cut the 2 Spin Doctors for a humanoid, or if you compare from Chris Dyer's list, it's cut a Spin Doctor, cut a Powers for a humanoid, that gets you another slot. So what I'm doing with that is I'm playing the 3rd Tatu, or like a 14th piece of ice, however you want to see it, and also the 2nd Void, which was okay. The Void is like I think Chris Dyer says, like the Void is like a good finisher and it's not good early, which is totally correct. But I think like I play this deck like pretty aggressively. Like we're gonna Regenesis and score, and like that's the game plan. So if you can get an early score with a Regenesis and a Fuji and you're up at 4 points, like you can pretty easily like just rush your, like force the other 3 points out. And Void is a great card for forcing a score. So that's why I'm on the 2. I think you can easily play 1. Yeah, and that's the deck. Regarding like changes, I put this in my write-up that I think the games on stream were not generally representative of my experience with the list, because Winston, aka Thomas Haas, was playing like a Magdalene deck. He was very prepared for the matchup. He seemed very comfortable with like what Auko was able to do, and like very comfortable with like, when do I run, where do I run, what's the best way to make that run. And he just like was like he wasn't overly aggressive in the sense that he wasn't reckless about it, but he was like very healthily aggressive. And I was like, I felt very threatened on like every turn basically. So on the games on stream that you see me play this Auko, I took some like much more aggressive lines than I feel like I've normally been taking with this deck. And like, I think in games against every other player playing anything else, like basically every game that I've played with this deck, except for the 2 games on stream against Winston, I've had a lot more control. You get your assets and your remotes a little bit more. You get set up a little bit more, but like his Meg deck and like the output of that Shaper deck combined with his knowledge of the matchup, just made it so that I didn't have as much control. And I think that made the deck look a little worse than it is most of the time. So whether that's yeah, I mean, I don't know what to really take of that. I'm hoping that there's a ban list update and like Regenesis gets banned, honestly. But is there any changes I would make? I don't know. I don't think I've played the deck enough or like gotten enough experience with this list to have strong opinions about changes. It got the job done, which is great, and I don't really want to think about it. Yeah. Sometimes you like have. See, I don't even know how much this is true, but I think there is some merit to the argument that cutting the stings means you lose AU code counters, and like it's harder to get AU code counters, which it objectively is, but like whether or not that's a problem, sometimes it was. So that's something I would think about. Yeah, shout out to Yi Chang, also his first ever Netrunner tournament. Yeah, lots of players first tournament did pretty well. Oh, lost stream. Oh no, back now. Uh-oh. Okay. I don't know how much people missed, but I'm just gonna keep going. Has Yagi Yuda or Sericulture come up? No. Yeah, I talk about this in the comment here on the bottom right of the screen. My write-ups are both in the description of the YouTube stream. But no, it has Yagi Yuda and Sericulture has never come up. It is just a blank 3-2. Oh, KZ's here. Now I know you can understand Mandarin. Congrats again. Yeah. I am very fluent in Cantonese. I can't read or write, but I can speak it well, and then I can understand Mandarin decently. Not super well, but I can if I'm trying to listen, I can probably follow along. Yeah. Is 3x Fat still right in this deck? Yeah, I think so. That's an interesting question, but I think Fat is threatening enough, and a lot of the times that's one of the things you want to open with is you either want to open with a cohort or a Fat, right? And you throw it out there, it starts to tick, and you deal some damage here and there. It's I think it's annoying enough, because it also deters central runs. People, even if you don't have stings, you still have some 1-pointers and even if you steal, even if your opponent steals a Fuji or a 2-pointer, they're still taking a ton of damage and hurting their setup. And this deck is very much a tempo deck, right? Where runner loses cards, you get card draw, and then I'm my score plan is hella fast. If I'm aggressively pushing Regenesis Fujis, and you have the 2-1 for fast events, you have moon pools to fast events, the other 3-2s, the score is the score threat is very, very real. I'm curious why Simek got cut. No real reason, I think. Yeah, no real reason. It could very well be in there. I think the other 2 Aukos yesterday were playing 3 Bato, 2 Tatu, 1 Simek. Which is fine. I feel I don't have strong enough I don't have enough reps with the deck to form a very strong basis of an opinion for exactly ice counts. Yeah, so I guess my answer is not as good as you might hope. But no real reason. Does that just speak to how unbalanced the card is? It's literally not the core game plan and still impactful enough to include 3x. Yeah, that's a great point. But yeah, I agree with that. It is pretty unbalanced because it can sit there, it'll stack up counters, and you'll take damage, and it people are happy to pinhole it, which is correct but crazy. Like, you know, you got this like 3 trash asset in there that you're gonna pay a click and $4 to trash and like feel good about yourself, and like, man. But that's the cards we're dealt. Yeah. Also, like, it is a threatening card, and playing too many copies is fine because, like, you know, you're Auko, you have Cohort, and you have Hansei Review. So, like, playing extra copies of a good card is fine, even if it's unique. I think it's pretty important to the game plan. In terms of like general like high tempo aggression. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, I noticed that it's noon. I'm gonna talk very briefly. I think Xiaat. Let me know if like you're anxious to get going, because we can get going. But like I'll be pretty brief. This is Reg Sable. This is what I play on the runner side. It's very tech for Auko. In this, basically that means I'm playing 3 copies of Nuka, 2 stone ships, and a no free lunch. So the no free lunch being for see how they run end of the line, which you also see like some end of the line decks in like Nebula, for example. Stone ships are good for that, both of those matchups, and also stone ship is key for touch up's complete image. So like usually 1 stone ship is good enough to beat that, because like basically before they play the complete image, if you pop the stone ship, like they probably can't kill you because they have to guess the 2 new cards. And yeah, and then like I was like waffling a lot on the icebreakers, but I'm on 1 Unity now, because of the just to like break code gates efficiently, because there's like scatter fields and like some missed and chest foes, and like you see like some other like big code gates sometimes, like Vampy or well, maybe that's it, but yeah, there's some code gates out there, like especially Scatterfield. And yeah, if you want a more a more in-depth discussion of the Sable, I talk about it more on my Thursday stream, which is my previous stream. In terms of the matchup, I think Sable has a better control game than Hashiko, because Sable has a better Sable just has better like central pressure than Hashiko does, right? Because just naturally from the fact that you gain a bunch of money and a bunch of value from running centrals with your ID, with info bounty and all of your run events, and I'm playing Penny Shaver on top of that as well, and obviously like boomerang and transfer of wealth is a thing. The other thing is that Sable is not reliant on viruses, whereas Hashiko is. In Hashiko, you have to play fermenters for cash, otherwise you're relying on your companions, because you have like Hashiko has like raindrops and gamble and like, I don't know if you want to count strike fund, but I guess it technically counts, and that's it, right? And then you have to play your companions, and you have to play like you can port 2 copies of Clean Getaway, and you have to play like you have to stuff the deck with fermenters and like get value with leech, which is just like a path of variance that I think you don't have to take on, because like, you know, now you have to think about fly swatter timing, and you have to think about like what if there's a Mav, like sometimes it's like a well-timed Mav can just like lose you all your money because you had all your money on your fermenter, stuff like that. And also just like Sable has like better pressure, I think, which I've already talked about. Yeah, I mean, Hashiko's totally fine. In terms of the Auko matchup, like, I think it's definitely the case that Hashiko against Auko is easier to play. Just because having 3 copies of Steelskin and 3 copies of Strike Fund in your deck means that you can just take damage and it's good for you sometimes. So it makes the matchup much, much easier to play. And also because your ID, like, drips you cards. So you can like stay flip, lose $1, draw a card at the start of the turn. Very, very good. Much easier to play than Sable. With Sable, you have to be a lot more technical. You have to like your money requires you to make runs generally. So you have to be really good at like knowing what ice is possible, Like in the finals, you'll see me like make like some runs based off of like my based off of like a read on what the ice is. So like there was an ice in front of a fut, right? That was like, it was a Boto, and I like accessed it out of somewhere, and I was like, I think it makes sense for the Boto to go there. So I like never ran that server unless my opponent had less than 6 credits. So just like never letting the ice to get rezzed, and like running when they're low, so that like I can get the trash without having to deal with the ice. And then like the other thing that makes this really technical is that your card draw doesn't just come from your ID. You actually have to like install your card draw. And there's a lot of it. With 3 Nuka, 3 Class Act, 2 Stone Ships is not really draw. And then 2 Biobands is also not really draw. But it counts. But mainly like the 3 Nukas and the 3 Class Acts. There's lots of times where you want to make a run, but you have to install your card draw card first. So you'll see me do that a lot, where like I'm prioritizing installing Nukas and Class Acts before I chance any net damage. I think is like a hard thing to do, because you have to like analyze the risk of like spending a click and money installing a useless card before making a run, where you might cost you credits and lose cards out of hand. And then especially this list is like becomes even more like difficult to play, because I'm playing Penny Shavers, and like Hermes is what most other people are playing, and like Hermes provides a very natural like bailout situation where like if you're not doing well, or if the corp like scores an agenda in a bad situation, like you can just take advantage of it with Hermes, and like this deck doesn't have that. And there's pros and cons to Penny Shaver and Hermes, and I don't think it's clear, but I've been enjoying Penny Shaver. It keeps the money flowing, and I'm able to control a lot better than Hermes, reliant on like the corp's scoring timing. It's not clear though. Like I think you could play Hermes and the deck would be totally fine, and maybe equally good, maybe better. Yeah, so I guess there's the matchup comparison. The fact that I think just like maybe it's not like, I'm not sure if I would say that the Sable matchup against Auko is better than the Hashiko matchup against Auko, but I think Sable is better across the board, and the discourse that you see in some Auko write-ups is that like the Sable matchups are free, and I think in like against the average deck, the average runner deck, which is like the average Sable Hashiko Magdalene piloted by the average player, that's probably true, because like I think Sable, like you look at Sable, you look at Red Crim, and you're like, you're aggressive, you run a lot, you play a lot of run events, you access cards on low cards in hand. So you just have to like play around it and like change your play quite a bit, and like prioritize draw and prioritize cards in hand. And like I think the games that you see me play on stream are like good showings of that. The first game I play on day 1 against Winston was very good up until the end. In that game, I'll throw this out there, is that like I drew really poorly that game, because I think in like the first 20 cards there was no Nuka, no Class Act, no Stone Ship. Maybe there was one. So I didn't draw my card draw in that first game, and that's ultimately why I lost. Or like that's ultimately why I was like so far behind, which created the situation where I lost, which was my own misplay. Because I should have been like playing around touch-ups, I should have been playing around various kill combos, and I like definitely should have popped my Stone Ship after click 1 installing, see how they run. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can go watch the stream. If you don't want to, it's fine. But yeah, that game was like, I guess like me crawling out of not drawing card draw, and it was just like an overall bad game in terms of the deck, in terms of the deck's performance. And then it was a bad game for me in terms of the final turn. But the game in grand finals was a very good showing of like how to pilot this deck against Auko, where I like found my card draw and prioritized installing it. But as I said, like not necessarily better than Hoshiko for the matchup, but I think Sable is better across the board. So if you can improve the Auko matchup with the Sable, then Sable becomes better across the board, including the Auko matchup. Catching up on chat. Yeah, Teeny sucks without Unity. Talked about the Penny Shaver and Hermes. Yeah, Unity much better in domestic chess. But like you see some Crims playing like Shibboleth or Cat's Cradle, and like I think those are fine. But you run into problems once like bigger code gates show up, and like that's really a meta call, because I think like you would love to play an in-faction decoder and like play a Mystic Mani. Or like a third Biobands and like a Leech makes sense. You see like some of the snare bearers playing a Leech. It runs into like MU problems because you already have two Shesvies, and Shesvies are really good, but like I think it can make sense. And you could play like a third Stone Ship. That'd be totally fine as well, because Stone Ship just cycles itself, and you can do it on the corpse turn to trigger class act. So like Stone Ships is just like a good card in addition to being tech. Can you link the Megacity stream to your Netrunner DB pages? Yes, I can. I will do that. Yeah, I'll do that. I can do it right now, but you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now. Let me catch up on chat, and then I'll do that. Stone Ship is seeing an extra card from the class active matches where you don't get killed. Yeah, it's great. I've noticed that playing See How They Run a Yuko, Penny Shaver shuts me down really hard unless I got a really big advantage. Yeah, because I think like especially the kill Aukos don't ice up their stuff, whereas like the scoring Aukos generally do, especially because I'm playing 14 ice, and like if you know me, I'm probably like someone who's adverse to just throwing things on the board without ice. So yeah, like when you put your stuff behind ice, you feel a little bit more in control as the corp. But I think the See How They Run decks, like they just have too much stuff to be trying to ice everything. Like you're playing Reaper functions, and like Gaslight even. So like you have just like a couple extra cards that you oftentimes will just chuck onto the board, and then like Penny Shaver like really shuts that down, because you can just like go check something and you get a Penny Shaver dollar even if you're not trashing it. So having Penny Shaver really helps in finding naked Reapers. Did you feel yourself wanting a second... Oh, I missed this. Did you feel yourself wanting a second twinning at all for consistency farming counters early? Generally, no. I think that's like a very real concern, because it is a one of, and you don't have a way of search for it. So you have to get it off of class act draws. Generally, no. Like I felt that I was like generally just like able to control the board and not have to be like, okay, like this game's gonna come down to central axes. Most of the time, unless I draw weird, this deck is very good at just playing a solid control game, and building up central multi-axis was unnecessary. It would be great, but unnecessary. Also, like the problem with the current build is that like twinning is actually like not good until way later in the game, because the ways that you charge twinning is with open market and with Shesvi, and Shesvi only works once you like get that down, get your breakers down, and kind of start running, which can happen early if like you're just running an open mark and you have like a random breaker and a Shesvi. Not often is that the case. Sometimes you'll like install twinning and then you'll get like some open market triggers, but like that doesn't happen that consistently either. So there was plenty of times where like I had twinning on my hand and I was just like, I just like don't have anything to charge this with. So it kind of like sits in hand, unless you're like, yeah. So that's that. And it's also 3 influence. It's pretty steep. What's the reasoning for including Stone Ship but not Airblade? Airblade is tech so Airblade is great tech for Zato Grid. So I think if you're concerned about Zato Grid, then I think Airblade is very reasonable. I'm playing 2 pinholes already, so I can pinhole Zato Grid. I'm also playing 2 Kuripiras, so I can install a second Kuripira against Zato Grid if they trash that. If they know I have 1 Unity and they trash my Unity, then I can like boomerang through all their code gates. And that game plan is kind of sus, but that is the risk that I kind of take on by having 1 Unity and 2. By having 1 Unity. And then I just have to like basically pinhole the Zato, and if they trash my Unity, then I'll have to play the boomerang game. That's and if you're scared of that, which I think is reasonable to be, then you can play the Airblade. In terms of the Auko matchup, Airblade is tech in the sense that it allows you to run without fear of damage, which is both good because you're not taking damage and losing cards, and it's good because you're blocking Auko counters. Stone Ship is tech in terms of like very specific kill lines. So I'm not using Stone Ship as just like general value. I'm using Stone Ship to like prevent you from scoring a see how they run and then dealing some net damage and then playing end of the line and it being lethal, or I'm preventing you from killing me with complete image. So like I want Stone Ship because I don't want to die to combos, and I will just deal with the fact that I'll take net damage during runs, because that's just comes down to managing the number of cards in my hand and making sure that I can lose some cards and I can draw back up. Whereas Stone Ship gives you avenues for winning games against card combos that is not quite as comparable as Airblades, if that makes sense. So I don't think and also, like, as was already said, like Stone Ship in the matchups where Airblades is useless, like Airblades is useless. But in the matchups where Stone Ship is useless as tech, you just pop it in on the corpse turn and see 3 cards in bottom 1, which is great. That's like a great card. Well, great is an exaggeration, but like that's like a good card, right? And I'll highlight this play. I had a game against Chris, against Zinchling. This was like just a for fun game during our ID in round 7, and he like I was running a remote with 6 credits and a Kuripira, and the Kuripira had 1 counter, and he goes Res Maskarovka, and I break it for 4, get a second Kuripira counter, and then he goes Res Maskarovka, and the behind the remote is a Basalt, which like I was reading that was the case, and we both thought that the Maskarovka was just gonna fire, and I was like, wait a second, I can Stone Ship the Kuripira and bypass the mask. I've never done that before. That was a funny moment, and that got me in and stole me 3 points. So another cool application of Stone Ship is you can get an extra counter on your Kuripira or on your twinning. Game Dragon is a consideration for the Unity influence as well, but also playing around with it, I think Unity is just better. Yeah, I would agree with both of those thoughts. Alec, hey, how you doing? Alec, of course, commentated, I think all of day 2, along with Hams, Ryan, and man, I need to. We saw everybody got copies of Charlotte, which is an alt art for NANPC. Of course, Ryan Hams won NANPC last year, and looks like they got an alt art for it, commissioned for it, which is great to see. But yeah, the stream was really good. Like really, really good production quality from the stream. Go check that out. You'll see Alec and Ryan commentating. And I can't wait to watch it back. Cause like, I think my finals games were like, especially the runner game. Like if you want like a good showing of like how, like what a really good game of this Sable deck against an Auko looks like I think that was the finals. In game 1 of the finals was really, really good. There was like there was like very few moments where I didn't have complete control of that game. And it was very good. And I haven't said this enough, but like my opponent Winston Thomas Haas was like amazing. Like he played super well, had a very solid tournament, and was like extremely prepared, and I think like deserved to win the tournament more than I did. Like you could tell that like he was like very, very well prepared. And I mean, at the end of the day, like we only lost games to each other. And that was, like really, really strong player. Both of you played so measured. It was amazing to watch. Like he's like, I could tell like the first time sitting across from him, on day one that like, oh, okay, like this guy like knows what he's doing and like is very comfortable with what to do in a certain situation, in a certain matchup. And like I knew that like from the very start of the game, like, you know, like he knows like touch ups and kill you while leaving you a window for popping your stone ship without actively telling you about it, which is what happened at the end. So that was really good. Okay. Oh yeah, I was gonna put the stream on here. So I think if you go to YouTube and look up LA Megacity Netrunner, you will find this T3 Gaming. And I guess what I'll do, is it in a playlist? It is not. Because this is day one. I imagine the playlist is going to go in here, and it just hasn't been updated. But for now, I will put this link into my write-up. So we'll go and edit this and be like, here, live stream from the event. There we go. Okay, xiaat, if you are ready to go, I will briefly talk about what corp I'm going to play, and then we can get going. Just because I don't want to... I'm going to get hungry real quick. So I do want to get it moving. And I understand that it's probably getting late for you as well. I'm just going to do this now. I forgot to add this part in, and I was going to update it, but we'll do it live on stream. Okay. Can I ask why not playing Debbie? Interesting. I guess the answer is didn't think about it. That's interesting. I guess it's like, I mean, really it's not necessary. Like Debbie's just like another weird penny shaver. I'm already getting enough value off of runs that it doesn't seem necessary. Maybe a Debbie is actually good. There is a lot of run events, as you've identified, and there's Debbie sounds very reasonable. Like you also get to use it to charge your twinning. That seems, I mean, really the answer is I didn't think about it, but that seems like a great card. So maybe there should be a Debbie. That's a good, it's a good identification. Debbie makes a ton of sense. Glad you make it back safely with the charging issues. Yeah, man, there was a very real world where we like camp out in a parking lot and sleep in the car. Okay, let's talk about what we're playing. I was originally gonna play this Auko. I think I don't want to think that much. But I honestly could just do it anyways. Right? I think we just do it anyways. Yeah. Yeah, we're just gonna do it anyways. I was like, there's like this PT deck that, like Not Yeti and I had played at the start of the season, and like I kind of like edited around a little bit, that I think has decent legs. It's like a mid-range PT. You could call it Glacier-ish. Adrian is in faction, so you have like a pretty good defensive upgrade with like not as costly as Void. And you have your like peer reviews and your Charlotte. So for like really, really quick, really good starts. And you're able to like play a strong ice game. It's like very untested. But I think it's like, I was gonna say that it's like maybe easier to play than Auko, and I'd have to think a little bit less, but actually like let's just play this. Because I was just talking a lot about this. It's probably more relevant for the stream if people want to ask me stuff, and like we can talk about the deck a little bit more. And I feel decently awake. So let's just do this. Is fine. Yeah. Is it here? Is this the list? Yeah, it is. All right, we're just gonna play this. Okay. Let's go. We're up against Sable. I'm gonna open a deck list overlay. 1 second. Okay, we're obviously mulliganing this hand, so we're gonna hit that while I edit this deck list overlay. Just so that I can give you a decent show of the deck list while I play. There we go. How's that? I'm gonna follow up on chat, and then I'm not gonna read chat until after the game, because it is a league game. This is the second round of a top 8 cut single elimination. So I beat Wenjong last week. We're up against xiaat here, and then if I win, I play the winner of Rust Rider and Jai, I believe. One thing I want to comment on from the grand finals, the big swing turns where Winston took 5 damage over 2 agendas, 1 score, 1 steal. Yeah. And he like went to 0 cards, and he knew, like we both knew that like I couldn't kill him with him on 0 cards. Like I can't like fast advance a sting because I don't have a sting. But yeah. PT strikes me as a lose to Crim. Okay. That makes a ton of sense, and looks like we're up against Crim. So I made the right last-minute decision. All right, let's go. So we're going to zoom in quite a bit, and then we're going to full screen. How's that? Good enough? I'm going to move myself up so that there's room to see my ice if I install multiple servers, which I plan to. All right. Alrighty. Okay. Here we go. What are we doing? We're up against Sable. Do we want to... So Void is like not good early. So we could just throw this out. You'll see in Grand Finals that Winston ran HQ turn 1 and sniped the Void, which is what caused me to cohort the Yagiuda. And that is not what you want. So I guess I should draw first, actually. Hang on, we're gonna draw first. Because if I draw like Petty Cash, that's an excellent draw. Because I think you always want to put Boto on archives. Because it's like a big taxing ice, and like when it fires, you can trash a card from HQ, which can synergize with your Regenesis plan. So it's often quite nice having Boto on Archives, and just having the one Boto in hand, I was like kind of hesitant to put it on HQ. It was always the right play, but hesitant. So drawing the second one means that I can put one on HQ, one on Archives, which is excellent. Give me something. That is something. Okay, well, okay, so we're up against Sable, right? So we can just, like, throw that on R&D, throw the Boto on Archives, and, like, take a credit, and we're just gonna, like, block them out. I have some reservations about committing all my ice like that, but it should be worth it. Because Sable gets a lot of value off of running. Info Bounty is a card. All the run events are cards that Sable needs to play for cash. So if he doesn't have a sure gamble here, cash can be kind of awkward for him. And we want to click for a credit so that we can res a Boto and a Saisentan. Although I doubt he just comes poking around, but maybe he does because he's got the Airblades. There's the gamble. Open market, maybe. Okay. We draw another agenda. That's fine. We find a hedge fund, which is excellent. And we'll just draw again. It fills our hand. We find an agenda, which sucks a lot. If we can find, like, a cohort, we can put the cohort in a remote, put the anemone on a remote, and, like, throw the Fuji out. And, like, draw with Auko and, like, maybe figure something out. Because, like, we are flooded, but, like, we are a moon pool draw away from scoring 2 points and getting rid of 2 of these. It's not what you want to do. Like, you want to be, like, Regenesis and Fuji pretty aggressively, I think. But it's okay. Like, I think long term here we're gonna block a lot of value, so I think it's okay. Okay, useless breaker. Transfer. Beautiful. So res Boto. He's going to block 2 net damage, and I'm going to throw out a card and get an Auko counter, which is amazing. We're probably going to throw out the Fuji. It just makes the most sense. We have got the Boto on Archives, so it's protected-ish. And again, like, there's 1 spin, there's 3 moon pools, like, the Regenesis can fish it out, so lots of things. Oh, he's taking 2 damage. Why? Okay, so he's saving his Airblade counters for... He's saving his Airblade counters for Saisentan? Because he plans on face-checking R&D or Archives later. Very interesting. Huh. Okay, well, I have to fire this, because if he comes in and transfers me, he can prevent the damage with Airblades on an access, so he's actually totally safe to just do the transfer. Yeah, and we get, like, some decent acceleration here with these Auko trigger. Petty Cash in the bin is exactly what we want, so we'll just slam that right off the bat. Scatterfield is great. Thought is probably what we're doing, and then if we want to play the Hansei review, that's going to set us up for a second Auko trigger, which is also probably what we're doing. I don't think he can get into Archives this turn, right? So I can probably just Hansei an agenda here. It's probably just the Yagiuda. And then next turn we could actually, like, score the hybrid release and, like, install something from the bin. Is a line. Yeah, this seems okay. So we're gonna Hansei the Yagiuda, and we'll go like this. Normally, I will say this. Normally, like, I think you see some people playing a Auko, like, aggressively chucking agendas in the bin. I don't do that. You generally are actually very controlled with the rate at which your agendas go in the bin. This draw has been an exception because I've drawn a ton of agendas, and I've also, like, Archives is decently safe. I found 2 Hansei reviews. and there's been a lot of like triggers requiring me to trash a card from HQ, and agendas is just what we have. But I will say that like I think a lot of people like look at 3 cards with Auko and like throw the agenda out, which I think happens a little too much. We are threatening just a Regenesis score here. So, oh, I forgot to res the FUT. Man, why are we so bad at this game? Oh my god. We're so bad at this game. Oh my god. This game, like, this turn is so different if I res this FUT, right? Because now he knows, and he's not worried about Regenesis, and, like, I probably just get this, and I also get a counter. Oh my god, I'm so... Oh. Yo, why are we so bad? It's very different when you... Sometimes when you see me play in person, I just, like, install it face up as a shortcut. But, like, I feel like I forget to res it on JNet more often than on in-person play. Oh my gosh. Like, what are we doing? We just lost the whole net damage there, which is, like, a massive deal. That's, like, it's so bad. Like, it's so bad. We're going to throw the Anemone out because we can get it back with the hybrid release. We don't actually want to just throw 7 points in there. And, like, 5 points is also insane. I mean, that 5 points is already insane, but it's, yeah. Gosh. Who let me do this? Who let me do this? Fuji, Saisentan, and Skunkworks. I mean, I guess it's the Fuji, and then we have, like, double Fuji, and I have to get the Yagi-Uda out. Oh, this is so bad. I mean, I think I need all these cards. So it's just the Fuji, and I need to find... Yeah. Y'all, we are so bad. What the heck? Like, actually, what the heck? Like, I'm installing Skunk and resing FUT and taking a credit. I'm so bad. I'm like, oh. Like, this turn, like, man, yeah, if we res that, he doesn't run archives there. And then I don't have to throw out a card. And this turn would have gotten much better. Got Mark on archives. He could just win if he runs archives. He shouldn't, because there's no threat. But he might. Hermes, okay. Yeah, we would have scored the hybrid release too. Man. Why have we thrown this game? Okay, we gotta focus now. Don't dwell on that misplay too much. The hell is this moon pool? Second is like the problem is the second I install another card on the board, he's gonna run archives. Which is just game. Gosh. Why are we so bad? Give me this moon pool. Or spin. This is like, these are the situations where we were like, should I have cut that spin? But the spin was cut for the humanoid, and we hadn't found that either. So the second spin wouldn't have helped us. Or like it wouldn't have been found yet. What to do? What to do? The Hermes is really good timing from him. But again, I should have scored the hybrid release last turn with the FOT token. Like, I just have to get the Yagi-Uda out of the bin. I think I just draw. This is so awkward. Because I'm scared that if I make another remote, that he's going to run archives instead of run the remote. Yeah, it has to be draw. That's not it. It's very bad. It's very bad. Like, in theory, I can put Skunk Void in the remote. How does that even help me? I mean, I guess I just throw the FOT naked on the board, right? And we just, like, throw the skunk in the remote, and we just, like, hope that we draw something. If I put the FOT naked on the board, it's going to allow him to play Clean Getaway, which he's already played one of. Also allows him to pinhole. We don't like any of that. We are going to do this and probably regret it. But I don't see anything else I want to do here. Mark R&D is very good for us. That's going to incentivize him to run R&D. We're going to res the Saisentan. And it's going to limit the damage of Hermes. And it also dissuades a run on archives. We have a 4 in 27 to find a moon pool or a spin. Like, next turn we could consider... Like, yeah, the Hermes makes things so awkward. But, like, we could consider score hybrid and, like, install the anemone. We can consider lines where we, like, put the hybrid on the board, like, behind a scatter or a Saisentan, and then, like, next turn we score and res something, and then... Sorry, next turn we score and, like, res and install something with the hybrid, and then he bounces, and then I get to reinstall. Looks like he's going for pinhole, which is fine. We're always resing the Saisentan. It's going to eat up the Airblade and the Boomerang. Naming event's fine. Fire. Okay. Oh, right. That's the way that timing works. Okay. Here's the pinhole. We're going to get the Shesvi money to trash this FOT. Which is, like, I have the second FOT to follow up if I want. I could also just put the hybrid release in there. This might be a turn to do that. And then we're, like, well set up to just lose on archives, because this looks like a Regenesis, and he's going to either install Boomerang or install Kurapira and run archives and, like, just win the game. So... Again, we have to be very careful with, like, installing something that could be Regenesis, because that's going to incentivize a run on archives. Very self-induced. Here's the Career Hero. Okay, we are in trouble. We are in very, 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 very big trouble. Okay, what if we go install res? Oh, my money is not good. We could go install res fat, install probably the Sisentan on top, and then put the hybrid in the remote. And then that lets us to next turn score the hybrid. Oh, the hybrid is like so losing. But it protects archives-ish. But that lets us score the hybrid. We're going to get the ice bounced. Skunk Void is just going to be lost. That's okay. And we could get diversioned next turn, or transferred. But with the FUT res... Okay, so I think that's what we're doing. So we're going new remote. We're going new remote, res, hybrid. And then we're either installing a anemone or a Sisentan. If we get transferred, which we've seen one, if we get transferred, then the anemone is live. Otherwise, the Sisentan is better. I think I just want the anemone. I think he's going to respect the Sisentan. So I'd rather just get the Auko counters and draw and figure it out with potentially a Moonpool draw. Because there's a world where he like transfers and then tries to run the FUT and like potentially dies to anemone. It shouldn't happen, but I think that world is out there. It's not clear. Very not clear. Mark on R&D is very good for us because HQ is transfer of wealth range, archives is game. And R&D is where he can't run because he doesn't have a Sentry Breaker. So that's very good. The fact that this card in the remote is not Regenesis is very bad. When I score the hybrid, like, we can either... like, we're probably just putting Yagiuda in the remote. And he's, like, pretty broke, right? So, like, if he runs the remote, like, he has to deal with Skunk and then Void, and I can actually, like, trigger Void. Can I? I go to 5 after the score. I go to 2. I go to 3 after rezzing Skunk, and then, like, I could trigger Void to protect the Yagiuda, which is just a losing line. It's not great. It's very not great. But Yagiuda is the problem. Like, if there's 2 Fujis in the bin, like, that's 4 damage plus some number of damage from FUT, which could be lethal. But the Yagiuda is, like, such a problem that it's in there. I don't even remember the circumstances where I got rid of that. It was probably self-inflicted. But I think it was something I needed to do. And, like, you could say that this is, like, punishment for cutting spins, but, like, there's 3 Moonpools in a spin. That's, like, still 4 cards, and we've seen 23 cards. I should have seen one of them. So it's not... like, I think we've just been a little bit unlucky. Fly swatter. No dice, hey? Oh, I get to reinstall ice. What am I talking about? After this bounce, I get to reinstall ice. Okay, so we are scoring and installing Yagiuda. Yeah, 100%. Bravado and Clean Getaway, sure. And then we're installing Yagyuta in the remote, for sure. And then he's going to bounce whatever, and I'll just reinstall it. If he bounces the Scatterfield, I'll probably put Sysint on there. Ah, okay. And I think I just re-ice it. But this time with the Saisentan, because I have a second Auko counter now. So I'd rather fire a Saisentan or not res it at all. So I think that makes sense. And there's no transfer math anymore, because if I get transferred, I go down to $2, and I can't res anything but the Fly Swatter, which I wouldn't want to res anyways. Transfer could be coming. It's like a little awkward for him because he dies to Fuji access. So he has to go like draw. He has to go draw transfer. And he got mark R&D, which is not the right mark for that either. Ooh, okay. I think I'm happy to just strand the Boomerang there. We don't want to pay $5 to deal a net damage, so we're happy to just not res. He's going to draw 2 cards and place 4 and trash. And then we can fire a Auko. We can draw either a hedge fund or... Oh, it's Nuka. That makes sense. That's better draw. He's going to hit the Nuka. Okay, we have 2 Hanseis and a hedge fund in the bin. We're looking for one of the other 3 copies of those cards. Petty Cash would also be nice. None of them. Humanoid. Cohort. Moonpool. Well, there's the Moonpool we've been asking for. Awkward. Very awkward. So we could go humanoid. Humanoid behind Scatterfield is probably fine. You can go humanoid Scatterfield and maybe we top deck a hedge fund or a Hansei. Or a petty even. I don't think I want to score. Like, this just opens us up to problems. With the Hermes and... Like, our path to 7 is, like, very unclear. So we need more money at this point. The Cohort is, like, okay. The Humanoid's definitely better. So, like, I think we throw out the Cohort, install a Humanoid, install Scatterfield, new remote. And we probably want to put something behind the Saisentan. But probably just take a credit. Man. Yeah, I think we have to throw the Cohort here. That sucks. Okay. Well, we've got the 2 Fujis. But also this is 3 to trash, so like if he runs this and pays 3 to trash this at this current time, we are okay with that. Thing is though, if I install Humanoid, install Scatter, I want to take a credit and go to 6, because then I can pay $2 and res this Skunk to protect this remote in addition to being able to res the Humanoid. So I think we're not going to be too cute and put the Moonpool in the remote. Because he could run this remote. And if he runs the Yagyu-Uda remote, I want to be able to res the Skunk. Does that make sense? I think it does. So we're going to go install, and credit. Because we need that 6th credit. putting the moon pool in the remote and baiting a run is like would be great. Because he can't afford to just pay $3 and trash it. But I'm gonna play a little bit safer because I can see him running server 1 here. Although at the same time, server 1 can be Sizen 10, and he just like doesn't want to die Sizen 10. So that also is very, very, very reasonable. But who knows? Like, he might like click Nuka run. And then it's like not great for him, but it's the situation. Okay, there's Gamble. So he can run my humanoid now. He doesn't. He runs Archives, and he dies. Beautiful. Oh no. Right? He dies? Excellent. GG. Oh no. That is unfortunate. That is capital U unfortunate. Sometimes you will walk into wins like this, even when you're playing very carefully. He probably thought about that and just like the risk of me scoring a Regenesis is very real, right? Like I score Regenesis, I go to 5 points, and then I'm now a moon pool away from 2 more points. What are the chances it's double Fuji? Like maybe you could say it's high because like I've been playing pretty weird. But yeah, xiaat, I imagine you're back in the chat now. Yeah, I didn't. My opening was like hella weird. It was good at the very start, and then we like drew a bunch of agendas, and yeah. Here, let me catch up on chat, and then we can talk all together. I heard Sokka say I'm not going to play AU, looked away, looked back, and you're playing AU. Yeah, I said I think I said I wasn't going to play AU, and then I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like awake enough to do it. You shouldn't draw the agendas. That's good advice. I think xiaat is about to cook us as we haven't done anything for 3 turns. Yeah, very much so. Check runner turn 4 after the game. Yeah, I'll look at that. I found it so funny that xiaat's playing Regenesis that doesn't exist. Mather, that's the deck. That is like every Auko deck. Like even the ones that are playing See How They Run and End of the Line like should be playing Regenesis because like it's such a big threat. Like you like throw some ice on Archives and like any card can be Regenesis, and like just scoring 4 points for 3 clicks and 3 credits off the board is like crazy. And I think it's very real. That's how you kind of are forced to play against Auko, and I don't like it. But that's like it's a very real threat. The game detected one spin and decided to flood us in the most anxiety-inducing way possible. Very good. I would consider overinstall server 2 to make sure all servers have realize. Oh yeah, that's 100% actually. That's true-ish. Like, right, because xiaat could clean getaway through the it was a Saisentan. Could clean getaway through the Saisentan that was boomeranged, as just like a way of like cycling a clean getaway for $3. It's only clean getaway though. Like, oh, I guess he could pinhole using that server. That's a good point. There's probably more suggesting that you should get rid of it than keep it around. The benefit of keeping it around is that if he ever wants to install another boomerang, then that boomerang has to die, and then the Saisentan is online again. But I think considering the circumstances, it was probably correct to get rid of the server. You're right. Okay, let's look at turn 4. xiaat's back in the chat, I see. Yeah, it's weird game. The double Fuji on Archive. Your draw was a little slower than you would have liked. Yeah, and this is what like Crim ends up having to do if you don't like find your nukas, is you end up having to spend clicks drawing, and like in most matchups it's okay because you're gaining clicks back when you run centrals. Yeah, I install this FUT and I forget to res it. Like, this whole game is so different had I remembered to res. Like, he wouldn't have ran archives if I res this FUT. But you challenge it because it could be a Regenesis. Okay, there was a click left to draw. So if we let you in, and we res the FUT, we just deal 3 damage, and then 3 damage gets countered by the air blades. So no, this is not lethal. This is far, 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 far from lethal. Because this is prevents net damage during a run, and you can just use all 3. So like, there's 2 damage on the Fuji, 1 damage off the FUT, which is 3, and I would need to deal 4 or 5 more damage. So no, this was far from lethal. Oh, wait, we're talking about after the Boto, probably. After the Boto, we've prevented 2 damage, and now we deal 1, 2, 3, 4 damage, which is exactly the number of hit points he has, plus a draw. So we're still far from it, but a little closer. Still far, but a little closer. Prothesia says, "Good, congrats on the win. Thank you." Regenesis is a 4-point agenda, but unlike Kingmaking, it consistently works. Yeah, it's like I think a lot of talk was like, because obviously there's like a looming ban list update, and we talked about this a lot, just like during Hangouts over the weekend. Was like, what do you want to see banned? What do you think is going to get banned? I don't know what the ban list committee's stance is on the current situation. Like, I think it's obvious. Like, if you remove a Auko, then runners are way, way, way ahead of Corpse. And a Auko is like holding up the Corp win rate. Is that good? Is the fact that a Auko is good maintaining the Corp runner win rate a good thing? Or is it instead, and this is what I think, that the runners are just overall too good and a Auko is also too good? And what we need to do is we need to hit a Auko and also hit all of the runners, and bring everything down. I hope that's what happens. Those are pretty drastic ban list changes, though, so I doubt that happens. Maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised, but like I think Regenesis should see a ban. Because like I think the Regenesis is the card that like gels the Auko together. Moonpool is like a cool. I think Moonpool is like a cool synergy with like throwing agendas in the bin. It's got this cool synergy with Auko. And you can like fast advance 3/2s, and you can like put 2 advancement counters on a Fuji and score it unadvanced. But the fact that like Regenesis can put a 3-pointer in your score area means that like the threat of Auko is too high, and it makes runners play like what happened here, where we're just like, we have to respect it, we have to run, we have to like take a bunch of net damage and deal with ice when we're not ready, because there's a 3 advancement requirement 4-point agenda that exists. So yeah, I hope to see a Regenesis ban, and then like we also talked about like Bankar deep dive, and I think for criminal hitting Shesvi works well. There isn't really like a clear criminal ban, but I think it's Shesvi. Like some people are like Bravado, but like then you're just like kind of like hitting away at some of their value cards, which is maybe what you need. But I think Shesvi is what gives you like the long-term sustainable credit positive runs on HQ out of Crim. I think Shesvi is like a smart ban, because it also like hurts the ability to play twinning as well. So I think Shesvi is a very smart ban for criminal. I don't think I was ever winning versus this ice composition on centrals with Headsay and Hedge, whatever your draw was after that. Really? I wouldn't. Yeah, I guess like my perception of it isn't that strong. But that's fair, because like, you know, you don't have a way to charge your Kurapira counters, and you just have to deal with the double Boto. And like R&D is like naturally the server that you're less interested in running, and that's the one with the Saisentan, and you didn't even find your Sentry Breaker. So that's fair. And I can just like click for credits and grind it out. It's scary though, from my side. But that's a fair point. Like the ice composition plus the money you start was very strong against what you were doing. What would weaken Sable? Yeah. Is there anything that could be unbanned instead? I've not looked at that. There probably is. But too complex for my brain to think about. Because those are cards that I haven't thought about in a while. Axu says we unbanned Cyberdex and Bologna and Vacheron. Like those are cards. Like I think it makes sense if we went that way. I would prefer for power level to go down. Because here's the thing. Currently, like, I think power level is like really, really high with runners and Auko. And what happens is like if you bring the rest of the corps up, then like the game becomes like very like power creepy and like very aggressive. Yeah, like I imagine we're gonna see like some like you're gonna end up seeing like some pretty rushy decks, because like the runner control game is just super strong, and I don't know if like you can make the corp control game strong enough to match it, and having the corp, because like the holy grail is that like you have control decks, and then you have like rush decks, and the control decks beat the rush decks, but then you have like some other deck that beats the control decks. And the other deck is like probably like fast advance. And like fast advance beats control decks. And then you have like rock, paper, scissors. And I think that's like, I like that because you basically like, then the deck building challenge becomes, how do I build a deck that it like maximizes my ability to win at rock, paper, scissors. And it's not a straight like, here's the deck I'm playing, I beat that, but it's like you know, when you're deck building, you try to find like optimize your ways of beating all of the decks, and like it becomes a challenge on both sides. I think that the format gets a lot easier to contain if we lower the power level of runners. Yeah, the power level of runners I think is just like too high, and for power levels of corps to match that is like, I don't know if that's a world I want to live in. Does cohort make a big enough difference to be considered? Cohort. Oh, like in terms of banning AU, or hitting AU. Potentially. I think a lot of people think like cohort is a cool and fine card, and I think it is. Like, I've never really been a fan of cohort. Because it like you have to cycle your cards, right? You trash a card and draw a new card, and you're like naturally gonna flood yourself. And there are some like cool, you know, it's a way of placing an advancement token on something if you don't run my face downs and archives. Like, I think like cohort itself is inherently not OP. And like I don't think like Shesvi is like on the edge of it being inherently OP. But I don't think Shesvi on its own is inherently OP. But like, you know, I don't think there's anything in Crim that fits that bill. So you just have to hit something like to cut down on its value. Whereas like I think in AUCO, the problem is like I think that Regenesis is inherently OP. So let's get rid of that before we think about like things that are not inherently OP in a vacuum. Banning Shesvi sounds a lot like banning Fun. I mean, like I think Crim needs to be hit somewhere. Like I don't know. Like I don't know. I think Bankar should go because like it's really hard to play ice with Bankar. But like on in Crim, it's a lot less clear. But like, you know, if you ban Deep Dive and ban Bankar, like Crim needs a hit somewhere. I think hitting companions does a lot personally. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. That makes sense. I don't think it's gonna happen, but because that's a lot of cards. Banning Bravado would be terrible. It's a card that encourages running. I agree with that. Yeah, banning Bravado isn't it. Deck doesn't work if I can't make cheap central runs and Botos. Man, I'm so behind on this, chat. Yeah, but yeah, talking Xiaat about this game, I can, that makes a lot of sense. Like this ice setup is really hard for Crim to deal with. Of course, you want power level down. You want to play BTL Glacier and just camp 50 minutes. That is fun Netrunner gameplay. I think that my two 2023 lists, like my Glacier BTL in 2023 in Barcelona versus my Hoshiko in 2023, like that's a fun matchup. It's very technical. There is like the Hoshiko wins that matchup. But I think on its face, people are very scared of the BTL. But the Hoshiko wins that matchup against the BTL. And I guess like if you're somebody who's like concerned about Glacier BTL, like, you know, it's easier said than done, but like play the 2023 Hoshiko against BTL. And like I guess like I don't know, maybe there's a world where like I stream it and I play against Fa or something like that. But that matchup is very Hoshiko favored. Even though I like try to tech against the matchup, like it's still very Hoshiko favored. Like Glacier BTL is like a fine deck that is fun for both players. I think that's true. Clicking to advance loggems when we have hit peak Netrunner. Well, clicking to advance it once is great. If clicking to advance logjam multiple times is good, then that's probably bad for the game. Because that should only happen in like very specific niche situations where it's like your opponent has like a Begamot and you're trying to keep it above the Begamot strength. Like that's fine and cool, but like if your opponent just has like a Rising Tide that just boosts 1-for-1 and you're like advancing the logjam for a click and a credit and that is somehow good, then there's a problem. On the runner side, twinning deep dive are the cards winning games more than anything else. Yeah, I mean, you could... But the thing is, like, I think those are win cons, and you kind of can't... Like, runners need win cons. Like, we can't just, like reg decks have to have some... Like, you have to be able to have, like, some kind of reg runner that has some kind of multi-access finisher. I mean, maybe you don't, and then they have to play single accesses and, like, other weird stuff. There was some talk about a twinning ban, and then you have to play, like, Maker's Eye or stuff like that, right? And then, like, your multi-access is, like, a single thing. You play it, it's gone. I could get on board with that. Skipping a bunch of stuff. Do you think any court ban is particularly warranted given how strong runners are? I mean, this is the thing. Like, I don't know what the ban list committee stance is on this. Like, I think both are reasonable takes. That we don't have to ban a corp. We don't have to do any corp ban because runners are really strong. Let's just hit a couple runner cards and call it a day. I think Auko is too strong. I mean, I think we're seeing this in the results. Like, there's Auko is the only corp that's consistently doing well. And we see it in the games. Like, it makes sense because like, there's just so many threats going on, and the fact that, like, opponent takes a net damage and you get a counter, and you, like, can spend 2 counters to see 3 cards, throw one out that actively advances your game plan. Like, I think that got pushed a little too far. Like, cohort can flip the, like, okay, when you throw a card in the bin, right, you can have a limited number of positives, but you can't have too many, because the natural downside of Auko is supposed to be that you are going to flood yourself because you're seeing 3 cards and you have to throw one in the bin. Like, if that's just a straight upside, like, imagine if Auko was spend 2 counters to draw 3 cards. Like, that is what the ID is right now. Because, like, the card that you throw out is just too good. The ability of throwing a card out is just too good. Like, petty cash gives you money, and I think that's fine. Moonpool lets you shuffle agendas back to place advancement counters on cards. That's fine. Cohort lets you flip a card face up to, like, place an advancement token. Like, that's also fine. Those abilities are, like, pretty tame and fine. Like, you can score a hybrid release to install a face down card. That's also fine. Like, you're enabling these, like, cards that give you a small benefit. But, like, Regenesis is a 3 advancement 4-pointer that, like, your opponent has to respect all the damn time when there's face downs in the bin and a card on the board. Like, that's a little too much. Like, if there's a face down card in the bin and a Boto protecting it, and there's a risk of you gaining $2 or cohorting a card or moon pulling an agenda back into the deck or installing something with hybrid, like, that's good enough of, like, a mitigation of throwing a card out. But if you're throwing a card out every turn and there's a Boto in front of it or some random ice, and every face down card now could be you scoring 4 points next turn is really insane. And it forces runners to, like, I think, play in a way that is too, like, it's just too strong to have to, like, respect that all the time. Saka says unban Kayambe. I don't know about that. I mean, I think from what we've been seeing, like, Jinteki, I think Jinteki and Wayland are fine. Like, Wayland has decently serviceable decks. Like, I was playing Scoring Ob for a while. I think that deck is good. Runners are just too good. Like, Nuvum has been doing pretty well. I think Zwicky, like, the Zwicky that I've played, I think is pretty good. Like those are all decks that like should be decent decks, but just like runners are just too good. So I think if you like hit some of those runners decks, all of those corpse that I just named out of Wayland are like pretty good, and should be very playable and decently competitive. And Jinteki, like in Jinteki, the cards are all there. It's just that like AU is just the best one. And the rest of them kind of run into the same problem that I just described with Wayland, is that the runners are too good. But in Jinteki, like PT is a great ability. And that deck, yeah, PT is fine. Restoring Humanity, there's lots of ways of playing that. Like Jinteki got a bunch of really good ice. Like Empiricist is like a good ice. Mycoeb is good, is like probably like a very niche, like you can make it good ice. But like, yeah, even like the ice in here, like Saisentan is a good ice, Boto's a good ice, Tatu's a very good ice. Like there's lots of good, and then Jinteki has like Void and Adrian in faction, which are like the two strongest defensive upgrades. Alongside like, you know, Skunk. But like, yeah, Jinteki and Wayland I think are in good spots. Like I think you like Kayambe helps one of those. Like I think if you want to look at an unban, you want to help NBN and HB. Yeah, Rust Rider has not lost a game this tournament. Rust Rider has swept his way up, and I think ID'd once. Ayuko says draw 3. I don't know how they thought it was okay. Yeah, I agree. Do you think they'll just straight up ban the ID? Like I don't think so. Like it creates so many problems with like, there's a lot of support for the ID-ish. Well, I don't know. That part is fine, but like banning an ID that you just released out of Elevation, which is supposed to be like a core-ish set that's going to stay around for a while, just probably like sends the wrong message. I don't work for NSG and I don't play test for them, but like that probably hurts morale quite a bit if you just like ban the ID that you just released. Anything short of free Vesh, free Bologna won't save those factions. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, yeah, like both of those factions have HB has a 3-pointer problem. Like they don't have a playable 3-pointer. That's the problem with HB as a faction. NBN is probably a little bit more complex than that, because the 5/3 that was released for NBN is like decently playable. Yeah, maybe they'll release an early preview set. Yeah, I have hope that their release schedule will be better than the past. I know that there's people working in NSG very hard to get that make that a reality. I've spoken with people just like for the purposes of my champ cards, and my understanding is that they are hopeful that new sets will be released at a more frequent time than it has in the past. Whether that'll happen is remained to be seen, but it sounds like, without any specific detail that I know of, it sounds like things are in the works. Is there a world where Info Bounty is banned? It seems other criminals don't play it as much as Sable does. Yeah, I can see that. I can see Info Bounty being banned. I think Info Bounty is like a big part of the Mark package, though. So I think that is like a little weird, just in terms of, well, in terms of what specifically? Like in terms of like Mark making sense. Because like essentially Mark just becomes like Sable, Carpe Diem, and like you're playing your run events and getting a fit back, which is fine. Like I think the fact that there's like a resource that you also get something is like something that the Mark mechanic is really looking for. And it would feel like it'd be quite the whole if we were to ban info bounty. Generally, they said the Midnight Sun booster delayed the next set by 3 months. Oh, really? Yeah, Wayland has great 5/3s. It's possible if the runner's taken down a peg, we see decks other than Nebula do well out of Crim. Yeah, out of NBN. Yeah, exactly. That's my thoughts exactly. Like I think if you bring down runners, like specifically, I think if you hit Deep Dive and Bankar, and hit something out of Crim, like so many corps become viable, and it becomes like a real deck building possibility with like lots of decks. Yeah, like deep dive and Bankar, I think like closed the possibility of like lots of different corps. Again, like Crim, like you have to hit something out of Crim, maybe 2 things out of Crim. Maybe it's twinning. Maybe it's twinning. Like banning twinning is like hurts Crim quite a bit. Did you get to make a second champ card? I have 3 more champ cards actually. After KPI, there's 3 more. It's probably going to be 1 in each of the next 3 sets. Yeah. So yeah, there's probably going to be 1 in each of the next 3 sets. Which means that there's, I'm gonna try to make them such that they're all gonna be corp cards, I think, because I think designing good corp cards is more important, because generally I think like runners are getting better cards than corps out of NSG sets. So I want to put my efforts towards designing corp cards. And I have... actually, no. One of them's going to be a runner card. But like one of them's like a flavor. Like I really like it for flavor. And it's coming up in the next one. So like I'm really excited about that one. But most of them will be corp cards. Without info bounty, you just have a different right Crim that's very strong. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think hitting info bounty is probably not good enough. Why is the core damage HB Agenda Suite bad right now? Brandon's scoring Asa. If runners get taken down a bit, does that change? If you take down... Yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, the problem with the HB Agenda Suite is that you have salvo testing as your 3-pointer. Otherwise, you don't have a 3-pointer. Like, you have to play Send a Message, which means you have to play Big-ish Ice to get value out of that, or you... Like, basically, you have to have value off Send a Message, or core damage synergy, or, like, you're paying influence or vulnerability audit. And that's, like, not ideal. The vulnerability audit part. But the rest of it's also not ideal. Like, HB really wants, like, a generic... Like, next big thing is, like, you can play that in any kind of deck. And HB really needs that. Like, every faction really needs that. Like, Basalt and SDS you can play in any kind of deck. Because those are, like, always going to be, like, relevant abilities. And then, like, Fuji just dealing 2 net damage is also just, like, a relevant ability. Yeah, I think if you, like... as I said, like, I think Bankar and... Like, Bankar just makes installing Ice, like, hella complicated. And then... Deep Dive means that you have to go relatively fast as the corp. And if you don't go relatively fast and you're playing 3-pointers that are just sitting ducks in R&D, then like you're gonna lose the Deep Dive in a pretty frustrating way. So it opens tons of things, including HB. Now I have to wonder if it creates problems to make Sokka lookalikes for different factions. I mean, that's the idea that I have, like, the theme is that I'm like some corporate executive who is traversing the factions. Like, I'm going from faction to faction, and I'm like, I haven't quite, like, I think the theme is that going to be like, I'm going to start off very happy, and then I'm like, oh, like, there's a problem with this corp, and then there's a problem with this corp, and like, I'm not really happy with this corp either. And then the character just becomes like unhappy with what they find at each corp. I don't know. I don't really like think about flavor all that much. But like, I think it's cool to like have a corp card from each of the factions that are also different types. So like, I'm gonna try to get, like, I have a Wayland operation. We're gonna do a Jinteki ice, and a HB upgrade, and then I have a NBN asset with Daily Quest. My Kingdom for Ikawa back. Yeah, exactly. I'm the only named living Canadian character in Netrunner. Named living Canadian character in Netrunner. Well, because the KPI says Vancouver. I'm so lost. The fact that KPI, I don't remember if I ever said this, but the fact that KPI says Vancouver, who was it that added that? I think it was Scorpy who added it, or I don't recall. I'm sorry. To the person who added it. I actually I feel like that the process of going through that art, I should have had like a little bit more. Like, I should have been more on top of like giving feedback on the art than I was. Because I think, like, at the end of the day, I think actually I don't like that it says Vancouver. Not because of what the text is, but because it's underneath the card title. I think the placement of the word Vancouver in KPI. I guess I'm talking about it, so I could pull it up. But the placement of Vancouver expansion in this card, I don't like, because like when you look at the top of the card, the text you want to see is the title of the card, and like right underneath the title is other clear text. To me, looks odd. Just in terms of how the art is, like how the card appears. So that is something that I would change if I were able to do it again. I would just remove that text, or like make it blurry, so that it's not like text over text. Because when you look at a card for the first time, you're like, you look at the title, I think, naturally, and you look at the cost, and then you look at the title, and then like underneath there's like some other text, and then you like naturally will go and read that, and like I don't really like that. Okay. Thank y'all for like the participation and like support in the stream. I always get like, I like, we have 36 live viewers right now, which is amazing. Like, I'm very happy and thankful that like there's so many people here live when I like don't stream regularly, and like y'all come and tune in and interact and are able to join in on the fun. Yeah, so thank you for all that. I like, the stream has been like, I used to stream regularly, and then like now I'm kind of getting back into it, but it's still like a very unstable time in my life in terms of scheduling. So yeah, like, shout outs to y'all for dealing with it, because I know that having a consistent stream is like much more preferred for people. Scheduling them ahead helps a lot with the irregularity. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, and then like just like putting it up on my YouTube. The thing is, like, I don't know if like I don't think people get notified of something being scheduled, right? Or maybe you do. I think you might get notified of like if it's coming up. Yeah, so I try to do that whenever I can. And then that, yeah, like I'm glad to hear that helps a bit. But again, yeah, thanks for all the support. This has been great. I have added the stream link from the LA Megacity. So yeah, go check that out. If you're interested in gameplay of the Auko and the Sable. Again, I think the gameplay of the Auko is not representative of most games with this deck. If you want gameplay of Auko, like I'm sure you can find it from other sources. There's probably lots of people who've played Auko on streams and also just like on live streams of tournaments. This deck is nothing special. Like it's just another version of Auko that's scoring agendas that has already been posted. Like if you play one of the tiebreakers decks that is scoring agendas and with like the similar like 3 copies of Scatterfield, like whether you play Hollow Man or Skunk is like close enough. It's not, but like you'll get a feel of like how to play the deck, and then you can play this one, and like there's no like secret sauce in like how to pilot really. I will say that like I generally am not a fan of the Auko deck. Because you run into well, I don't know, like a lot of, I feel like you run into a lot of situations where you're just like you're threatening something, but like your opponent can find the right line and you get blown out. Whereas like I kind of like to like I like playing decks where I can thread the needle a little bit more and like control my risk a lot more. So like the thing that I'm threatening is not super OP, but if you find the right line, I'm not getting blown out. Whereas like Auko, especially with like the presence of Regenesis, like you oftentimes the best line, like sometimes you find yourself just in situations so like, well, I'm just going to install this Regenesis behind like this Scatterfield, and this Fuji is in the bin, and like it doesn't make sense for you to run Archives, and it like you have to have like a specific card to run through the Scatterfield and steal the Regenesis, and like that's just like the balance of the upside for me is like well worth it for me to take that risk. And like those decks are like I think generally a little less fun for me to play. So there's that, but I thought I'd get it out there. I thought I'd play it and get myself that Megacity win with the deck that has been doing consistently well. And then yeah, like the Sable's really strong. I mean, you saw me play this against Wenshang on Thursday, and then like if you want a good game of this deck against Auko, highly recommend the Grand Finals game, which is on stream. And that was a really good game, kind of showing the Auko matchup. Okay, with that, I think I'm going to close out the stream. I have so much I need to do. But with that win, I do move up to Grand Finals. So we'll play against the winner of Jai and Rust Rider. I've ran once and Corp once, so we'll see what happens. Rust Rider ran and Jai Corp. So they're also, the winner of this game is also going to be run once, Corp once. So it'll be a 50-50 if I play runner or Corp, and we'll see what happens. So I will, keep an eye on my YouTube. I will schedule that. Next week is like, I have an assessment on Friday, and then I have an assessment on Tuesday and Friday of next week, and that's like, and then I'm done my like bar requirements for like my bar exams for law, and then I start working on in August. So I'll be in the Bay Area for like another 2 weeks exactly, and I'll leave in exactly 2 weeks on Monday. and then I'm gonna be like busy moving, and then once I move in and like get settled down, maybe Law will be super busy and I won't be able to play much, but like I'm hopeful that we will be able to. And I have plans to play in like continentals, and I've already booked my Worlds ticket and booked my Worlds accommodations. So yeah, I'll throw that out there. I've already booked my Worlds accommodations. I'll be in Edinburgh from October 12th, which is a Sunday. I land there the Sunday prior to the event. So I'll be leaving here on the 11th, flying over, landing on the morning of the Sunday the 12th, and then I'll be leaving the Monday after the event on October 20th. So I'll be there. I'll see y'all there if you're going. Yeah, and we'll get to experience the city a bit. Just catching up on chat, and then I'm going to close out here. That's why scoring ob is based. Lots of good things and then losing on R&D. Have a good one, Williams. Hope to see you soon. Yeah, Alec, man, I missed the Vancouver crew. I will definitely try to like I'm hoping once I move to Abbotsford, I can get a car. Like I'll buy a car before I start working, because like I think once I start working, like I don't know, am I really gonna have time to like go to a car dealership and try to buy a car? Like that's gonna be like much harder. So like I hope I can get that done in the last week of July, and then I'll be able to like drive out and come to weekly meetups, because I would totally do that. So yeah, definitely hope to see you all soon. I've been very, very, very disconnected from the Vancouver scene for a while now. And like I used to follow the Vancouver Discord, like reading all of the messages, and like eventually it like became a little too much for me, which is good. That means there's lots of activity in the Vancouver Discord, which is really, really good. But yeah, there's been a lot to keep up with, but I'll definitely come out once I get a car and I'm able to drive out. Okay, thanks for joining, everybody. Really appreciate it. Keep an eye out for the scheduling for next week. We'll find out who I play in the final, and I'm sure it'll be a fun one. All right.